Good morning and welcome to the Retirement Railroad 2.0. I'm Steve and this is episode 62 of Workbench Wednesday. Now, this will be the first in a series, probably 3 weeks, maybe 4, where we look at a unique way of, at least for most, of speed matching. Now, 5 years ago, I got a hold and bought me one of these AccuTracks. And I did a tip of the day. This would have been 2021 maybe. And did a tip of the day on speed matching. And so let's go ahead and watch that now. And you want to place it somewhere on your layout where you got a good, at least 4 feet for HO, so your locomotive can get up to speed. Now, that locomotive just went through at 100%. Now, you'll see here in a minute when I get to JMRI, I've already adjusted that locomotive down. I have a speed limit of 70 miles per hour on my railroad. So, and 70 miles per hour on an Athearn Blue Box is about half speed in JMRI speed table settings, halfway. So you see there, this engine's running a little bit slow, and I need to adjust it upward. All right, it's running at 61 to 63 miles per hour. And if I can get within 1 to 2 miles per hour of my max of 70, all right, I feel pretty good about it. And if I set all my engines that way, I can put them in consists together, and I know they're going to run pretty darn close to one another. And there's ways of fine-tuning it even more, but I find that this method gets me in the ballpark and works fine. So I know where my range is. I'm running a little bit slow here. So I take the engine and I go over to my programming track and get it on there. I bring up JMRI. And here I am. The engine is on the programming track, and I simply have to go to JMRI. There we are. And there's my table of roster of locomotives. I gotta find that specific locomotive and open it up, and it's 548. It's a Burlington SD45, one of 2 that I have. There we are. I'm opening it up. And there we are. That's the speed table. Okay, notice it's already down at 50% at the top speed. So I want to adjust that up just a tad. All right, see how I did that? Just barely. And if you notice there on the top, you have to mark that you're going to use this speed table. Otherwise, it's going to throw it back into a default. All right. Then I said match both ends, and that puts a constant acceleration through. Then you have to write the changes, all right, to the page. So that's what it's doing now. The computer's going through and talking with the decoder and setting the decoder up for these new speed values. And you may have to do this a couple times because when you're getting into that fine of an adjustment, it's pretty tight. Also, don't forget to save these values. Just writing them is one thing, but you got to save them as well. All right. And I can close out from that engine, put it back on the track, and there we go. 71 miles per hour. That engine's good to go. All right. That's how easy it is. Okay, so that's the easy way, so to speak, of doing it with an AccuTrack. Now, that's all said and done. I've got this 12-foot switching layout that's not really conducive to speed matching. And you might ask yourself, well, on 12 feet, what am I worried about speed matching to begin with? Because I'm not going to be running consists of multiple power units. Well, that's true here. But I do travel and go to op sessions in other locations. There's also a club here in town, and if I wanted to go run there and have a long train with multiple units, I would have to have them speed matched. And again, since this layout isn't conducive to it, what other alternatives, at least with the JMRI AccuTrack methodology, what all other alternatives may I have? Well, 2 years ago, almost 2.5 years now, in January of 2024, Robert, the Flying Cloud, invited me to meet him up at Steve Davis's layout outside of Tulsa. And lo and behold, this was a huge layout. And Robert and I had a great time operating on that layout. When we got there early, and Steve Davis had this circle of track, and he started telling us about how he was incorporating this speed matching layout, and he was speed matching some of his locomotives. And I found it to be very interesting concept, and we watched him do it. And I said, well, how do I find out about this? So he gave me the link to an article on it. So here we go. And you can copy that link, which is right up there on top. And that goes through this article, which we are about to watch, all right, and go through. Now, back after this weekend of operations, I started to accumulate all the necessary items I would need to build one of these layouts. But before we get into those details, let's go through and this article from the North Raleigh NTRAC Club, North Raleigh Model Railroad Club. Okay, and why do we need speed matching? Okay, and I can read this, or you can read this. Prototype railroads, and again, I provide you the link for this in that first slide. I will also include it in the description of this video. You can add more diesel locomotives and have them run together, and provides the power to move trains at desired speed over track route to be followed. Now, if you're going up and down helixes, as an example, and have a long train, you're going to need more than one power unit. So having multiple units consisted together, running at identical speeds, where you're not dragging an additional power unit, or a power unit they're not working against each other, okay? And that, again, is called a consist, nothing new to anybody here. And they're synchronized for efficient aggregate traction effort. That's what they say, okay? And why do we need it? Well, you've got multiple different manufacturers whose decoders are not identical, so therefore they may not run at the same speed for the same power supply. Okay. Even within one manufacturer, an identical decoders, you can still have some the differences. Okay. And this goes through the speed matching theory. And you can go through and get all technical with that, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time. Again, you have the link where you can go find a copy of this article and read through it yourself. But the bottom line is, close is often not good enough. And, you know, I am not one to go in and start changing CVs off of a throttle, all right? And I am a huge advocate of JMRI and Decoder Pro because it makes life so much simpler. Now you can choose what speeds for different classifications of locomotives. Right. Back in Florida, where you saw me using the AccuTrack, I just had a top speed of 70 for all of my locomotives. Okay. Well, more prototypical would be to vary it based upon freight or passenger service or switcher. Now, I would for what I model, which is the racetrack in West Suburban Chicago, the top end for a passenger train is 50 or 55 miles per hour. So I'd probably set up passenger trains somewhere around there. All right, maybe at 70. And then freight locomotives, I'd probably set up in the neighborhood of 50. Okay, and then switchers, I would set in the neighborhood of 30. Okay, but that's just me. You have the availability in this, utilizing this new circular programming track to set it up the way you want. You can do it manually as well, utilizing an AccuTrack. Now, you can read through this. Speed matching steam locomotives, again, I don't run consists of steam locomotives because all I'm utilizing is steam for. On mine is excursion trains, so I don't get into that, and particularly I'm not going to talk to that. Okay. The one thing needed is a speed matching script, and I have that, and I will, as we get into the series, we'll get into that in more detail. And the script will pull up a window, all right, so that you can add information. Again, I'll get into all this in future Workbench Wednesdays in this series. So we're going to skip through this and just give you an overview. Now, the control mechanism. Now, I, not too long ago, last year, put together a control mechanism similar to what you see depicted here. All right. So hang on a second and we'll bring that up and let you take a look at that. Okay, so you now have seen, if you've gone back and looked at the Workbench Wednesday episode number 10, you've seen the control module that I have already built. All right. Similar in function to what you see here that I can hook my laptop up to. All right, so next thing, now for the actual speed matching operation. And this gives you the instructions how to reset your command module control station. And it goes through all these different things. We're going to skip ahead and we're going to get right down to this. Okay. Now this is a N gauge, and if you go through and read all the notes and instructions in the scripting, etc., it says how to do the HO section. Because instead of having 12 sections to this blocks on this portable layout, it shows you how to do 16. And the reason I say 16 is because the actual wiring will be for, on the HO will be for 16 blocks. And we're not going to get into that. So next thing we want to look at is the actual case for this test track, test and programming track. Hang tight. All right, so here you see it unfolded. You've got your piano hinge. It's 36 inches. They didn't have a 36 incher. I utilized a 48 cut down to 36 inches. All right, you utilize 3 pieces of 1x3. I used a pretty good grade pine, not cabinet quality, but it all depends on how fancy you want to make one of these. I want practicality, not necessarily. I like function over form. Let's just put it that way. All right. So I have 2 clasps here and there. I'm still missing the hinges for here and here. They are due to arrive tomorrow. And along with 2 handles that should arrive today. Okay. So it simply folds up. Put your clasp in place. And then with handles on each side, grab and go. Fairly simple. All right. Behind me. With that, we're going to wrap up this week's Workbench Wednesday, episode 62. And next week, we'll get into laying the track and wiring it up. All right. With that, I want to thank you for joining me here at the Retirement Railroad, episode 62, Workbench Wednesday. I'm Steve, and y'all have a great day. Bye now.